The massive starship Celestial Horizon trembled as it navigated through the treacherous asteroid field surrounding Kepler 782d. Inside the cockpit, pilot June Park gripped the control stick, his hands steady despite the chaos erupting around him. Alarms screamed, holographic warning systems flashed angry red warnings across the transparent command display. "Navigation system compromised," shouted his co-pilot Hune, fingers dancing across multiple emergency override panels. "Gravitational. Pull from the unknown planet is stronger than our initial scans predicted." June's eyes narrowed. This wasn't just a routine exploration mission anymore. Something about this planet felt different, unnaturally different. The ship's quantum sensors were going absolutely crazy, picking up strange electromagnetic signatures that defied standard galactic mapping protocols. Suddenly, a massive asteroid the size of a small moon lurched directly into their trajectory. Hyun's eyes widened in pure terror. "Evasive maneuvers!" he screamed, but June was already 3 steps ahead. With reflexes honed through years of elite pilot training, June twisted the control stick, engaging the ship's emergency quantum displacement drive. The entire vessel shimmered, momentarily, becoming translucent as it attempted to phase through the incoming asteroid. But something went wrong. A violent electrical surge ripped through the ship's primary systems. Sparks erupted from control panels, holographic displays shattered like glass, and the ship's artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. June and Hyun were thrown against their safety harnesses, the world around them becoming a chaotic dance of light and violent movement. "Brace for emergency landing," June shouted, his voice calm despite the impending disaster. The Celestial Horizon began its uncontrolled descent into the planet's atmosphere. Outer hull temperature rose dramatically, turning the ship's exterior into a blazing meteorite. Protective. Energy shields flickered and died, leaving them vulnerable to the planet's harsh environmental conditions. Hyun's hands moved frantically across emergency communication systems. "Mayday, Mayday, this is Celestial Horizon reporting catastrophic system failure, requesting immediate rescue coordination." But no response came. They were alone. The ship tumbled like a broken toy, spinning end over end. June's training kicked into overdrive. He redirected emergency power to stabilization thrusters, attempting to create some semblance of controlled descent. "Prepare for impact," he yelled, knowing their chances of survival were minimal. The planet's surface rushed up to meet them, a landscape of jagged rock formations, strange crystalline structures, and an atmosphere tinted with an unnatural purple hue. The ship screamed as it tore through atmospheric layers, leaving a trail of burning debris and quantum-displaced energy. With a thunderous impact that seemed to shake the entire planet, the Celestial Horizon crashed. The ground split open, swallowing portions of the ship. Molten metal and quantum-charged fragments scattered across the rocky terrain. Silence. Then, a slight movement. The emergency hatch of the cockpit slowly creaked open. June Park emerged, his environmental suit protecting him from the planet's potentially toxic atmosphere. Blood trickled from a cut on his forehead, but his eyes burned with determination. He scanned the immediate surroundings. No sign of Hyun. The ship was completely destroyed, scattered across hundreds of meters. Survival equipment, emergency beacon and limited supplies would be his only resources. In the distance, strange rock formations seemed to pulse with an unnatural energy. Something about this planet felt watched. June checked his oxygen levels, weapons system and emergency communication device. He was alive, he was alone, and something told him this planet held secrets far beyond any standard exploration mission. Little did he know, his real adventure was just beginning. End of Part 1. The rocky terrain crunched beneath June's boots as he carefully navigated the alien landscape. His portable scanner flickered with strange readings, electromagnetic signatures that made no sense. Quantum energy patterns danced across the device's screen, showing impossible fluctuations that defied known scientific understanding. Wind whispered across the purple-tinted landscape, carrying particles that seemed to shimmer and move with an intelligence of their own. June's environmental suit protected him, but something felt different about this planet. The very air seemed to breathe with an unseen pulse. he discovered the first anomaly near a cluster of crystalline rock formations. Tiny dust particles moved, in patterns that suggested something was moving, but nothing was visible. His advanced thermal imaging showed momentary heat signatures that appeared and disappeared in microseconds. "This doesn't make sense," June muttered, adjusting his scanner's sensitivity. Suddenly, a low-frequency vibration rippled through the ground. Not an earthquake. Something else. Something alive. His communication device picked up strange signal, patterns, mathematical sequences that seemed too perfect to be random. June approached a massive rock formation that pulsed with an inner light. Quantum-encrypted data streams leaked from its surface, revealing complex information patterns. It was almost like the rocks themselves were communicating, storing information beyond human comprehension. His emergency survival kit contained limited resources: one emergency beacon, 3 days of nutrient packets, a multi-tool with quantum cutting capabilities, and a portable energy generator, each item carefully selected for deep space exploration missions. In the distance, strange mechanical structures rose from the ground, not natural formations but not quite artificial either. They seemed to grow from the planet itself, shifting and changing like living technology. June's scientific training battled with his survival instincts. Something was watching him. The scanner suddenly went crazy. Electromagnetic disruptions created visual glitches around him. Momentary shapes appeared, humanoid figures that existed between visibility and invisibility. They moved with incredible precision, their quantum-based camouflage technology rendering them almost undetectable. June activated his suit's defensive protocols. Micro-energy shields surrounded him, creating a protective bubble that could withstand extreme environmental conditions. He'd been trained for first contact scenarios, but nothing in his training prepared him for this. A strange communication attempt began. Mathematical sequences transmitted through quantum frequencies. Something was trying to understand him, to communicate, not as a threat, but with curious intelligence. The landscape itself seemed alive. Rocks shifted, dust particles danced. Invisible. Energy waves moved around him, creating complex patterns that suggested an intelligence far beyond human comprehension. "Hello?" June spoke carefully. "I'm from the Interstellar Human Exploration Team. I mean no harm." The response came not in words, but in a series of complex quantum energy pulses. Information transferred faster than human language could process. Images, emotions, mathematical concepts, all blended into a communication method beyond traditional understanding. His suit's advanced translation systems worked overtime, attempting to decode the strange signals. Fragments of meaning emerged: curiosity, observation, a long-standing watch over potential intelligent species. Something about this planet was monitoring him, not as a predator, not as a threat, but as an observer studying a fascinating specimen. June realized he wasn't just a survivor. He was potentially the first human to make contact with a civilization that existed beyond traditional dimensional understanding. The day was young, the discoveries were just beginning, and somewhere in the invisible landscape, something was watching, waiting, learning. End of Part 2. The air around June began to ripple like heat waves on a summer day, but this was no ordinary atmospheric disturbance. Quantum energy patterns shifted and danced, creating momentary glimpses of something extraordinary. His military training screamed danger, but his scientific curiosity burned even brighter. Tiny particles in the atmosphere started moving with impossible precision. They formed complex geometric patterns, swirling around June in a mesmerizing display of invisible choreography. His suit's sensors went haywire, recording data that would challenge everything humanity knew about dimensional physics. A soft vibration began, not from the ground, but from the air itself. It felt like a communication attempt, a sophisticated language spoken through quantum frequencies. June stood absolutely still, understanding that any sudden movement might break this delicate first contact moment. Suddenly, thermal signatures began appearing and disappearing around him. Humanoid shapes materialized for microseconds, elegant, tall figures with impossible proportions. Female forms constructed from quantum energy, their outlines suggesting an intelligence far beyond human comprehension. "Who are you?" June whispered, activating his suit's universal translation protocols. The response came not in words, but in a symphony of mathematical sequences. Complex algorithms danced across his communication interface, transforming into abstract images and emotional impressions. These were no ordinary beings. They were living quantum algorithms capable of existing between dimensions. One of the invisible entities touched his environmental suit. The contact wasn't physical in the traditional sense, but a transfer of information. Memories, intentions, entire knowledge systems flowed through the quantum connection. June experienced fragments of their civilization, technologies that could manipulate reality itself. His training kicked in. Remain calm, observe. Do not show fear. The beings seemed fascinated by him, a human, a biological entity from a different dimensional plane. They studied his reactions, his breathing, the electrical impulses in his brain. To them, he was an extraordinary specimen, unpredictable, emotional, fundamentally different from their quantum-based existence. More entities began to gather, not as a threat, but as curious researchers. They moved around him, creating complex energy patterns that mapped his biological systems. June realized he was experiencing something no human had ever encountered. A first contact scenario with a civilization that didn't just exist in space, but existed between spaces. His suit's energy levels began to fluctuate. The quantum beings were inadvertently affecting his technology, their mere presence creating electromagnetic disruptions. June adjusted his systems, maintaining a delicate balance between observation and survival. A profound communication began. Not through language, but through pure information transfer. They showed him glimpses of their world, a civilization that had evolved beyond physical limitations, capable of existing in multiple dimensional planes simultaneously. They were watchers, observers of galactic evolution. June understood now. They weren't just aliens, they were something more, a life form that had transcended traditional biological limitations, existing as pure quantum intelligence. The landscape around him continued to shift. Rock formations seemed to breathe. Dust particles danced with intelligent design. Every moment was a revelation, every second a challenge to everything he understood about existence. His mission had transformed. He was no longer just a crashed pilot. He was a bridge between two completely different forms of intelligence, a representative of humanity in a first contact scenario that would rewrite everything humans knew about life in the universe. The invisible beings continued their examination. Gentle, curious, profoundly intelligent, and June Park stood at the center of this extraordinary moment, ready to make history. End of Part 3. The quantum landscape transformed around June, revealing fragments of an impossible civilization. What had appeared as a barren, rocky planet now pulsed with hidden energy networks, intricate quantum pathways that connected entire dimensional networks. Massive, crystalline structures rose from the ground, not constructed but grown like living organisms. Each structure contained complex information systems that functioned like biological neural networks. June watched in amazement as these structures shifted, communicated, and reorganized themselves with intelligent precision. The invisible beings, who called themselves the Lumina, began sharing their history, not through words but through direct quantum memory transfers. June experienced their evolution, a species that discovered dimensional manipulation before developing physical bodies. They had chosen invisibility as the ultimate survival mechanism, allowing them to observe without interference. Holographic memory projections surrounded him. He saw their civilization's journey, from physical beings to pure quantum intelligence. They had survived multiple galactic extinction events by existing between dimensional planes, watching civilizations rise and fall like temporary light waves. "Have been waiting," a collective quantum consciousness communicated, "for a species capable of understanding beyond traditional limitations." June's suit struggled to process the massive information transfer. Quantum data streams flooded his systems, revealing technological concepts centuries beyond human understanding. Energy manipulation techniques that could reshape matter, communication methods that transcended language, technological systems that functioned more like living organisms. The Lumina showed him their monitoring systems. They had been observing multiple galactic civilizations for millennia, tracking evolutionary potential. Humanity was unique, unpredictable, adaptable, capable of extraordinary technological leaps despite biological limitations. Massive energy networks pulsed around him. What appeared as empty space was actually a complex communication grid, allowing instantaneous information transfer across potentially infinite distances. Each quantum particle carried memories, experiences, entire cultural archives. June realized he wasn't just a survivor. He was a potential ambassador, a bridge between two radically different forms of intelligent existence. The Lumina saw humans as fascinating, a species balanced between destructive potential and extraordinary creativity. Quantum holographic projections revealed glimpses of human history. The Lumina had watched humanity's technological evolution, from primitive stone tools to space exploration. They were particularly impressed by human resilience, the ability to adapt and overcome seemingly impossible challenges. "Your species carries something rare," the collective consciousness communicated. "An unpredictable spark of innovation. Most civilizations follow predictable evolutionary patterns. Humans create chaos, and from chaos, true innovation emerges." The crystalline structures around him began to pulse with intricate light patterns. Each structure contained millions of quantum-based information networks, functioning like living, breathing databases. They were not just technology. They were a form of distributed intelligence. June's environmental suit collected unprecedented scientific data. Every moment provided insights that would revolutionize human understanding of physics, communication, and potentially consciousness itself. He was collecting more scientific information in these moments than entire research teams might gather in decades. The Lumina revealed their primary mission: observing and potentially guiding emerging galactic civilizations. Not through direct intervention, but through subtle quantum influence. They had watched countless species rise and fall, waiting for a civilization with genuine potential for interdimensional understanding. Suddenly, the quantum landscape shifted. The invisible beings began demonstrating advanced technological capabilities. Energy patterns transformed rocky terrain into complex geometric structures. Matter itself seemed malleable, responsive to intelligent design. June understood now. This wasn't just a first contact scenario. This was a potential turning point for human civilization, an opportunity to understand existence from a completely new perspective. The hidden civilization continued to reveal its secrets. And June Park stood at the center, ready to bridge two extraordinary worlds. End of Part 4. The distant hum of rescue shuttles echoed across the alien landscape. June knew his time with the Lumina was drawing to a close, but the quantum beings had other plans. They understood this moment was more than a simple rescue. It was a potential gateway to interstellar understanding. Quantum data streams began transferring into June's suit systems. Not just information, but a comprehensive package of technological insights that could revolutionize human scientific understanding. Advanced energy manipulation techniques, dimensional communication protocols, and complex algorithmic systems that could transform human technology overnight. "Your species needs a bridge," the collective Lumina consciousness communicated. Not a conqueror, not an observer, but a true interpreter of potential. The rescue team's radio signals grew stronger. June could hear human voices, worried, excited, preparing for a potentially dangerous extraction. But he was no longer just a crashed pilot. He had become something more, a living connection between two extraordinary civilizations. The crystalline structures around him began to pulse with a farewell sequence. Intricate light patterns danced, creating complex mathematical goodbyes that transcended traditional communication. Each pulse carried decades of observed human potential, hope, and curiosity. Quantum energy began concentrating around June's suit. The Lumina were preparing their final gift, a technological seed that could potentially unlock new scientific understanding for humanity. It wasn't just data, it was a living, adaptive information system that would grow and evolve with human research. Rescue shuttles broke through the planet's atmospheric layer. Military-grade scanning systems began sweeping the terrain, searching for signs of life. June knew he had mere moments to complete this extraordinary first contact scenario. The invisible beings shared a final message, not through words, but through a profound emotional and intellectual transfer. They saw humanity as a species of extraordinary potential, chaotic, unpredictable, but fundamentally capable of incredible growth. Where other civilizations followed rigid evolutionary paths, humans created innovation through their very unpredictability. Remember, the quantum consciousness communicated, your greatest strength is not your technology, it is your ability to imagine beyond current limitations. Rescue teams landed, specialized containment units deployed, preparing for a potential contamination scenario. June could see military scientists, medical experts, and quantum research specialists preparing to secure the area. The Lumina's final quantum transfer began. Complex technological insights embedded themselves into June's suit systems, a living, adaptive information package that would slowly reveal itself to human researchers. Breakthrough after breakthrough, hidden within a seemingly ordinary data stream, rescue team leaders approached, their protective suits scanning for potential threats. June stood perfectly still, understanding the delicate nature of this moment. One wrong move could compromise everything he had discovered. "Pilot Park," a stern military commander called. "Status report." June took a deep breath. How could he possibly explain what had happened? How could he communicate an encounter with a civilization that existed between dimensional planes? The quantum data package in his suit pulsed softly, a reminder of the extraordinary connection he now carried. "Mission successful," June responded carefully. "First contact established. We are not alone." As he was guided towards the rescue shuttle, the alien landscape behind him seemed to shimmer. For a moment, just a moment, the crystalline structures pulsed with a farewell light. Then everything returned to normal, as if nothing extraordinary had happened. But June knew differently. Humanity's understanding of the universe was about to change forever. End of Part 5.